What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Turbo John. We're over here at Dragwire Solutions working on the hot rod today. Let me show you what we got going on. Comment, like, and subscribe. If you've not already subscribed to Austin's YouTube channel, Dragwire Solutions, go hit him up. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Do I have all those? I think I do. YouTube is where you're going to see most of the updates on my car. We got a lot done again today. Let me show you what we got going on. Don't forget, we got a race coming up in Kinston in 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks-ish. It's going to be awesome. Go check it out, guys. Comment, like, and subscribe. Appreciate it. All right, guys, let me show you what we got done so far. It looks about the same as it did last time, but we do have our drain line on now. So our drain line came. We ended up getting eBay takeoff, NASCAR Brown and Miller 245s on it, and it works out pretty good. Ideally, a 90 down there would be better, but it's going to work out just fine the way it is, so that's good. We got our blanket on. This is a blanket that has been on now. This is the third car. That name brand, I don't even know who it is. I don't even know which way. Something, yeah, that, something, sport. I have no idea what that name is. I got it off like Amazon or eBay or something, but that one's actually been pretty good. We've been playing with the throttle bracket some. I got this all going earlier, and this is what I was waiting on, the little cable stops. I ordered a whole bunch of those off of Amazon. They came in, so we're good there. The way this one was set before is I had it down here in this bottom one, and someone had made some comments in the video previously, and they were right that this thing was going to flex with it way down here. So what you do is you kind of, it's got more leverage out here than it does here, so we moved it up to this hole, and so it's better. And something else that I've done, something you always want to check, something you always want to be aware of anytime you're building a car, you always got to be careful. And I'm always more careful, it seems, with dealing with the throttle stuff, but this was, if you look at the previous video, this was sticking out about an inch. And so when this come up, it cleared no problem, but this thing has got the ability to flex a little bit. And so what I was concerned about is, what if this thing goes up, this bracket flexes enough and bends, and then when I go to let off the gas, that's going to go down to right there, and then we got a stuck throttle situation. And so something, you know, that's always scared me. I've never had one stick, but I've seen it happen a lot. I've seen a couple times recently where it's been pretty bad, and it's always scary stuff. Brian had it happen on his car one time when I was standing there in the shop with him doing a trans brake test, and that was a bad deal. It pulls pretty good. It flexes a little bit, but not much. Nice and smooth, wide open. So we're good on our throttle. So the throttle is good. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the way that turned out. We did also appreciate everybody giving us comments, and I agree with you. So we're going to move our limiters, and so I've got a plan in place. I'm gonna get a little bit longer chain. This chain is only like 12 inches long. So I'm gonna get a 16-inch long chain, and I'm gonna go off of the A-arm down here on the bottom. Now I was talking to Uncle Mike. I sent Uncle Mike just the little clip of this thing springing back, and he called me urgently and was like, "Bro, what is happening? Why did it just do that?" And he was concerned that he had set something up, you know, wrong in the front end, or something was crazy happening up there. And I was like, "Did you see the limiters?" And he was like, "Well, no, I couldn't really see him." I sent him a picture of it, and he's like, "Oh man, okay, you scared me." Which he knew that he didn't have, wasn't nothing that he done that caused that to happen. But you know, just seeing it fling back like that is always interesting when you don't have the whole story. So we are going to move those. I do like the way it's mounted like this, but it'll be fine mounted down there to the bottom. We got plenty of room, so that's going to be good. The other thing we went ahead and started doing, I told you Austin had the coil harness and stuff done. Obviously all this is all plumbed out the way he's done this. You've got 2 leads. This one is the one that actually controls the coils, I guess, and then this is the power and the ground for all of them. So you got 2 plugs, and then he's got the injector harness already done up there as well. So this one, he's got this one built too, but it's just not on there. I need to go in there and start zippy tying the spark plug wires. I was going to try to get some custom length, but since this set is also for the small block Chevy, I'll probably just leave them that length, and then I'll show you how I do zippy ties for wire loom, essentially. Not wire looms, but wire separators. Joey Moore, I saw him do that a long time ago, and it works out really good. Started getting my sensors on. Appreciate Forrest coming on board. Scarlett's Solutions, we got the sensors. So we got a fuel pressure sensor. We gotta have a CO2 pressure sensor here. And then we got back pressure sensor here. So that's where this one's gonna ride. Man, why is it not focusing on what I want it to focus on? So these are our sensors here. We'll have oil pressure sensor up here on this. Like I said, this is a filter. It's an inline nitrous filter. It's like 100 micron. And the reason I've got this on here, because that is the feed that is going to the turbo, and the oil is coming from the port back here on the back of the motor. So when you have the oil coming from the back of the engine like this, if we start spinning a main bearing, if this is a priority main block, which it is, then what's going to happen, that bearing material is going to go up through the back of that motor, through the back of this oil port, and it's going to go right to the turbo. So if you don't have a filter in line protecting the turbo, if you don't have filtered oil going to the turbo, if you mess up the motor, if you mess up the engine, then there's a good chance you're going to mess up the turbo as well. So it's just a little bit of extra protection. Now, if you feed the turbo with filtered oil, if you have a remote filter on the engine like my small block Chevrolet did, a remote external filter housing, and I've got it off of there, then if it's filtered oil, you don't need an extra filter in line. So that's pretty cool. I've got my blow-off valve lines running. We talked about those last video. So 3/8 lines, they're the same length coming from here to the other side, and then this 3/8 line here. So something else I wanted to show you guys that is pretty cool. Down here we got our Lightning Quick Power Glide. So this is Anton's setup that he done for us, and we got our Scarlett Solutions pressure sensor. This is a 300 PSI sensor, and this is going to tell us internal line pressure within the transmission. So that's going to be pretty cool. Now up here, this is the cooler line pressure. So we're going to have another Scarlett Solution sensor in there. I've got to take all this apart to put it in, but we're going to have 150 PSI sensor in there. So the pressure in this line is the one that actually blows the motors up, that pushes on the thrust real bad. And you can see what it is. This is the transmission cooler lines. And then we have it looped here, and so we're reading the pressure there on that side, and then it just goes back to the top of the pan. Now we do not have any dump valves or anything on this. I've got some in the trailer, but we're not thinking we're going to need them. And when you run a dump valve and you bypass the fluid, a lot of people do it. I've done it in the past, but it is not super easy on the transmission, because the return coming back from the cooler, this line right here, is 100% supplying the lubrication to the transmission. So if that is not done properly, then it's going to be in bad shape. So that's what we're doing there. Now this is something else that we've got on the car. This is from Scarlett Solutions as well. You can do this a couple different ways. This is a track temperature or tire temperature sensor. It's an infrared sensor, and basically there's a couple places you can mount it. You can mount it back there at the tire. You can mount one at the ground in front of the tire. You can mount it on the tire. And then you can check tire temperature, you can check track temperature, but we're going to mount this one right here beside my battery. That's a good spot for it, and it'll just be pointing down, and then that way it'll be protected from the rubber, and then at the same time it'll give us tire track temperature in front of it's in front of the back tire, but it'll tell us some good useful data is what we're going to do. We talked about this switch panel earlier, so that big red switch up there is going to replace this one back here in the back. He's going to have a on-off switch as well, so you can turn it off in the back here or in the front where we're at. So we're making some progress. So it's getting closer. I've been over here for a few hours, 3 or 4 hours already, 5 hours. I don't know how long it is, but it is Saturday now. I'm fixing to go ahead and take the steering column out. Don't forget, I got this Motion Raceworks. This thing is pretty cool. This is the Motion Raceworks quick disconnect. It is so much easier than the spline ones. So easy for it to get in the right spot when you want it to go. So I'm fixing to take the steering column out. Uncle Mike's going to come over. I was hoping he was going to come over today, but he's busy. He's got a lot happening. So he's going to come over hopefully early next week, and we can finish this firewall. But I'm going to go ahead and get the steering column out, and I'm going to go ahead and also, I think I'm going to go ahead and start trying to get this back piece of carbon in, trying to figure out weight, where we want to mount weight. I was thinking about doing it here off of this bar here, which obviously that's a good bar. The further it is back, the better. The only kind of problem is no, it's not a problem. I'm gonna go under that, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my clamps. I'll put 2 clamps, maybe 3, probably 2 clamps. One here, and then angle the weight down and let it come. I don't think we're gonna have to add a lot of weight to this car. I really don't. We may end up putting some weight tabs on the rear end as well. Mike is building the anti-roll bar links. And so once we get the anti-roll bar links in this thing, shoot, man, we're getting really close. This thing is really close. Austin's going to finish up the wiring. Like I said, he's got most of the wiring done on the front from the firewall forward. Almost all of that is done, so he's just got to get on the inside of the car, and then we'll be set. So hopefully we get this thing fired up next week. I don't see why we can't. So that's what we're shooting for, is to get it fired up next week. And I don't know if there's any racing happening next week or not. I got my door hinges, Sam Vincent Performance. He had them in stock. It's the TRZ ones, no, Team Z, the aluminum ones with the little stub on the top, and then you open the door and you pull it out. They're pretty awesome. I'll show you where those are. I'll show you how they look when we get those going and get those installed. We got a lot to do, but it is closer now than it has ever been. So oil's already in the motor. I do have to get a bracket for this. This is I just need from a 1/2 inch to a 3/8 is what it looks like for the coolant temp. We are going to end up putting water in this one somewhere. We don't know exactly where yet. I was going to do the radiator in the back, but honestly, the way Courtney's, and I don't know, I mean, it just messed up with us one time, I guess. But I was not very happy with the way the water temperature was rising. It's almost like it had an air bubble in the pocket. And then it stopped. We didn't have no issues, but I don't want to have those issues. So what I may end up doing, once we get all the front end stuff on it, I mean, we got plenty of room. I may do like Mike with the Challenger, making some brackets and stuff over here, and get one of those little teeny radiators to go here on the side. That's gonna be later down the road, though. We got time. We ain't got to make that happen right now before we are going. If I do that, of course, then what I'll need to do on this downpipe flange, I'll need to come out through here and then vent it down, or do something with it so that we don't blow hot exhaust onto that. Engine wise, transmission wise, we're good. Starters on it, torque converters in it. I do need to go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and put oil in it now. I've got 4 quarts in. I'm gonna go ahead and put the other 4 quarts in. I got Randy's old quarter windows, or carbon fiber quarter windows. Optic armor we're gonna do in the front. We got his old optic armor that we're going to do in the back. We've got some people that got to get some Lexan for the windows in the side. Brock Faircloth, he does some down close to the beach somewhere, so I might get him to cut me some windows, and then we'll be set. All right, guys, so this is real simple with the zippy ties. You can see all I did is you wrap them around this way first, and then you put them in between. And I got a couple different styles of zippy ties because I had run out, and that's what I had. So it will work, just trying to keep them separated, and more importantly, just keep them kind of tied together. And if you're very careful, you can snip these at the perfect angle so that at some point when you're trying to get these off, they'll cut you open real good, which is what I did here, because you couldn't really get down there with the big snips that I had. And yeah, but that's how you use zip ties for wire spreaders. There's probably a couple different ways to do it too. Well, there's probably a couple other different ways to do it as well, but it works well. Basically, you just wrap it around while you're doing that, and then put them in between and slowly tighten them up, and then you're set. I got one down in there, just trying to keep this header, this number 1 up here. If that's not tied up at all, then it falls to the header. But you can see with it zip tied to the other 2, now it's up and fine. So we're good to go there. So that's how we do those. Just wanted to show you that little trick there. I was going to show you also, we are going to mount, this is a 5-bar map sensor. We are going to mount it to the back of the elbow here. And this is again, Forrest Scarlett Solutions. This is a 5-bar sensor, but something that is pretty cool is it tells you right there, if you ever question some sensors, they don't tell you what everything is, but this is a 5-bar map sensor. 0.5 to 4.5 is the range, and it goes from minus 14.5 to 58. With that information on the sensor, it makes it really easy to scale if you're doing custom scaling. So I really dig that. I really like that. Some of your real cheap sensors, they'll have a part number on it, but it doesn't have the ranges on it, so you're guessing, or you have to go look up the part number of the sensor. So this just makes it easy to set up in the computer. All right, guys, so what we're doing now is we started running these vacuum lines, and so essentially these lines right here, these are the Black Sheep Industry wastegates. The bottom port here, these are the ones that has to go to a boost source. So this has got to go to the compressor cover, and then what happens is the natural pressure as boost increases, then it starts trying to open the wastegate, right? So there's a valve in here. Actually, there's not a valve. There's a these have 2 diaphragms or O-rings. I'm sorry, they don't have diaphragms. That's what makes these Black Sheep Industry wastegates so cool, is they have O-rings in them. And so the O-rings on this side of the O-ring, if you put pressure, then the valve moves up. And so when the valve moves up, the wastegate, the valve in there, opens. It opens and lets the air, the exhaust out. It vents, and then when it vents, the turbo slows down. That's how you control boost. On the top side, these right here, these are CO2. Now there's a couple different ways you can use onboard air compressor. Some people do that in the streetcar stuff. Some people hook this to the boost source as well, and then they start putting pressure on top of the wastegate, and then they start bleeding it off on the bottom. And those are manual boost controllers. But in our race car, we use CO2. It is a 5-pound bottle. It's in the car in there, and basically it's got 2 solenoids. So when Austin hooks up all the Holley stuff, there'll be boost control. So I can tell it not how much boost to make, but I tell it how much CO2 pressure, how much dome pressure to put on top of the wastegates. And that's what these lines are. So you see we got these tied together. These go to the top of that same valve with the O-rings. So as you put pressure on top of this, it keeps the valve closed. Now, what's happening also that a lot of people don't think about is you've got back pressure. So back pressure in the engine, in the headers, what back pressure is, the turbine wheel is spinning based on the exhaust coming out. And so as this is spinning, it starts choking up the back. So ideally you would have 1-to-1. So if you had 20 pounds of boost, you would have 20 pounds of back pressure in here. But there are some motors, as boost gets elevated, as the efficiency of the motor goes down, you start having higher back pressure. Some engines, they get away with 2-to-1. So if you got 20 pounds of boost in the intake, then you would have 40 pounds of back pressure. In my experience, I don't like to go much over about 1.5. So if I had 20 pounds of boost, I want a maximum of 30 pounds of back pressure. And generally, if the motor sized properly, if the turbo sized properly, especially on the turbine side, then you end up getting pretty good back pressure to boost ratio. And it's all about the camshaft. All that stuff plays a difference. So you got to really start looking, and you got to monitor. Something I did not tell y'all earlier, I told y'all we got the Scarlett Solutions. This is our back pressure sensor, but I did not tell you why it was in this plumbing tee. It's in this plumbing tee because you have pulses, and when you're in the pulses, this is where it goes on the turbine housing. So we drilled it and tapped it, so that's where it goes there. And essentially, sometimes this will be erratic. So the sensor gets pulses, and so it's real jaggedy when you're trying to data log. I put stainless steel in this, stainless steel wire mesh, so like a Brillo pad. It's packed with that, and then you see it comes in this way, and then I've got this off of 90 degrees. So basically by doing this, it really, really cleans up the signal. So we just got this thing cleaned all up. So I thought we had this drilled on Randy's car, but I guess not. Maybe we're getting it from somewhere else. So we just drilled it and tapped this, and so this will get the fitting that goes right here, and then we'll be set. All right, guys, well, we are getting ready to wrap it up for the night. Getting tired, been over here for quite a while. Started messing with the carbon fiber stuff. Got this stuff, man, that stuff looks amazing when it's, I got the white stuff on it. It's not riveted down or anything yet. So that looks good. we got this big piece. I think the way Uncle Mike wants to do it, it's gonna work out pretty good. I've started fitting it, but I'm gonna need his help to get it exactly the way he wants to do it. The big piece, basically, we're gonna follow the tubs here. So it's gonna come about to right here, and it's gonna roll around. And basically, it's just gonna roll down this to this point right here. And then that way, we got plenty of room for an anti-roll bar. And then he'll just have to somehow connect that piece to this piece. I've got it cut and angled. It's not really exactly right because it's gonna have to go to here instead of up to here. But man, it's amazing what a little bit of tin work does. It makes it look a lot better. He said something about, I think he said he's gonna get a piece of, I guess, angle to stiffen this up, and then that'll give us a shelf so we can put a piece of carbon back here, or aluminum, whichever one he wants to do. I don't care, it doesn't matter to me. Aluminum, carbon fiber, sheet metal, it makes no difference to me. I don't care. So made some work, moved these lines too. Got those so they are out of the, from underneath the bars there. So it's a little easier to get to the sensor and to see that gauge, so I can see my cooler line pressure. I still haven't gotten it all on column out, but yeah. All right, guys, it's been a long day, but we made some progress, got a lot of work done. It's been really fun. Hopefully in the next 2 or 3 videos, we'll get some smoke out the pipes is the game plan. Hopefully that'll work out. Got to get Uncle Mike to come up here to finish the firewall stuff and help me do all the sheet metal. I'm just not comfortable doing all of that. It's just, I don't have that vision that is necessary.
If you've not already done so, I need y'all to right now go to Dragwire Solutions on YouTube, give him a follow, subscribe to his channel, leave him some comments. Appreciate it, guys.